back to another Have It Automotive video. I'm in one of my favourite places with this guy, Conor, from Central Lotus. Good memories for me here, in this spot actually, collecting the Exige. So every time I'm here it makes me smile. It's always good. Bit of a different video today, guys. I suppose really we always talk about cars, performances, how they drive, what they do. But today we're going to talk money. We're going to talk
the brass tags.
The brass tags. I like that, brass tags. I'll use that one. Brass tags. We're going to talk money. We're going to talk about buying cars as investments rather than. I suppose we all enjoy cars. We all love cars, but we're going to talk more about why we should buy a car more on the investment side. Now, I don't know if you know this, but my E92 M3 I bought for 12 grand and sold for 22.
Yeah.
Spent a few thousand on it, modding it, but I sold it in the right time when E92 M3s were just peaking.
Yeah.
M3 F80, I made about 2 or 3 grand on that, and then that's when we jumped in the Exige,
Lotus,
which we'll talk about.
Which you'll do alright with.
Which you'll do alright with. So we'll talk about the Lotus bits in a bit as well. But I suppose as an overview, buying, let's say, something like this or that, or a Lotus product, when is the right time to buy something like this?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's like, we were talking about it earlier, and it's like with all these cars, it's not just a car, it is an asset, and if you buy right, depending what it is and the nature of the market and things like that, you can, like in your case, you can do really well with them. But like I said, it all just depends. Things like this car, for example, I mean, this is a 2021, so it's still fairly new, but they're not making the Hurricane anymore. So this was one of the last ones, very low mileage car. So, and there's talks of this being the last V10 that they're going to make that's not a hybrid V10. So cars like this, in 10 years time, when it's all electrical, hydrogen, or wherever it's going to go, your real petrol heads, these are the sort of cars they want. And you look down the rest of the line. You've got the Porsche. I mean, they always do very well residual value wise. They always hold the money very well. They're a pain to buy them in the first instance when you want to buy it new, because there's massive weight.
We'll talk about that as well with the new things. I mean, let's take this for example. I mean, that's a dream car right there. You know, certainly for me, I would love to own a Lamborghini. Hopefully one day I will do if we work a bit harder. Hey?
Yeah.
But this is up for 237.
Yeah.
It's, what year is this?
2021.
2021 car for 237 grand.
Just under 2,000 miles.
Is the key to something like this keeping the mileage off? Yeah,
well, I suppose it depends really. With something like this, it's called a fluo capsule, and there was only, they weren't limited in terms of actual numbered cars, but it was a limited run car. We've actually got this on sale or return for a customer of ours, and there's only 2 in this colour for sale that are available in the UK. This one and one other. They're very limited in terms of the actual availability of the car in the UK.
Because you can't go out and buy one of these.
No, you can't. You can't. Like I said, there may be a few Hurricanes left over within the dealer network, Lamborghini dealer network.
That's going to be.
There may be some that are left over that are new, but when they're gone, they're gone. You can't walk in and just order a new one because they don't make them anymore.
In terms of Porsche, I don't know. The way I see it, I never bought a Porsche, never owned a Porsche. But the things you hear on the grapevine is to get into a new Porsche, you've got to be in a certain criteria.
Yeah.
Is that
yeah,
true?
and it all depends on what you're going for with a Porsche in terms of if you're wanting. The thing with Porsche, they're very long waits for the cars. You have to wait if you want a new one, you have to wait a long time to get one.
Sometimes.
So we've had loads of people with the Emira coming in saying, I've waited 2 years for a Boxster, I still don't know when I'm going to get it, I'm fed up with waiting. So people do get fed up with waiting, they get fed up with that. If you get in that Porsche regime and in that reel with Porsche, you can do really well with it, because you go through the motions and you buy one and then you get another and another and another, and then you keep working your way up. That's when you eventually get to a point where once you bought X amount of these cars, you then get to a point where you could get like a GT3, where like your new Gen 2 992 GT3s.
By the sounds of it, it's like a kudos point system.
It is. It's like I said, it's what you spend. So like in a Porsche dealer, they will look. The business managers will, or the sales managers will go to the business manager and say, we've got 5 customers, these are the profiles of the customers, this is what they've spent, this is what they've got, who we're going to allocate a new GT4 RS to.
Is that the same in Lamborghini world?
I think it's, I think it's, I don't know as much, to be fair, in the Lamborghini world, but as far as I'm aware, across the board, that is what it's like. Because there's lots of, I suppose in the grand scheme of things, a new GT3 at 150 to 180 sort of grand, that sort of money. There's lots of people out there that can afford to spend that sort of money on a car. There's a lot more than what they make, to put it that way. The demand is much higher than the supply of the things. So it's then who they then allocate it to. So it has to be done on an allocation basis.
So what we're trying to say, I suppose what we're trying to say is, if you won the lottery tomorrow, and I wanted to go out and buy a brand new GT3 RS or a brand new Huracan, in an ideal world, I don't think it's going to happen.
Especially with the Porsche, GT stuff, you struggle.
You're going to struggle. So that's where, I suppose that's what we're trying to say, what we're going to kind of get across in this video, is that that's where your used market comes in. That's when this stuff holds its value, because it almost becomes rarer to rarer to get hold of. It becomes rarer to get hold of. Let's talk Lotus, because we're in Lotus. We've got to talk Lotus.
That's it.
Obviously, it's a great car, as you all know.
This is the
now,
one.
I suppose this is kind of the crux of it. Another big point I wanted to get across today is, so I bought the Exige, it's coming up to a year, so it'll be a year in, I think April I got it, might have been March, April, I think I got it. And yes, I've been having itchy feet, yes, I've been looking at Nissan GTRs, been looking at other things, but there's one thing I know for sure, but Lotus won't be producing stuff like this anymore.
That's it.
So I suppose what we're trying to say, I'm trying to encourage a lot of you guys out there as well, and your Porsches and your Ferraris and your Lambos, is to get into stuff like this, because yes, obviously these cars are amazing. I love Porsche, we love Ferrari, we love Lamborghini, we love all supercars and sports cars, but these really are good to get your money in.
When you get into the Lotus world, all these other things, like Porsche for example, they're great with kit, but there are loads of them about.
Exactly.
There are still a lot of them. You look at like even a GT3 that is impossible to get hold of, like we were talking about before. There's still loads of them selling on the launch trade. You go on and look at them, there's loads. You go to these, and these are in such limited supply.
You don't see them.
You never see them about, and that I think is the beauty with these things. Like I say, it is a shame that they don't make them anymore. I suppose all good things have to come to an end, I suppose.
Of course.
But the fact that these are a proper British hand-built sports car is amazing.
There's nothing.
And they hold the money, and people talk about they talk about the Porsches holding the money really well, and the limited edition Ferraris holding the money really well. But Lotus is one of those cars that goes under the radar with it a bit, really. So people wouldn't necessarily look at one of these and think, oh, it's a really good investment. But this car is 6 years old, and it's probably lost 10 grand.
So it's up for 65 now. And what year is it on?
2017.
So what's my math? So that's what? How many years? 6 years, and it's lost.
6 years, and it's probably lost 10 grand in 6 years.
I don't think there's another car. There's cars that will make money, but I think if you got in this today and ran it for a year and did track days and enjoyed it and used it like I've been doing, you've still got your money saved. So what we're trying to say, is yes, it's an investment. You can keep your 40, 50, 60 grand there sitting in the bank doing nothing, because at the end of the day it's doing nothing in the bank. If you look at YouTubers like DMO and people out there, you invest their money in kind of stock, shares, cars. This you have fun with, and you're going to get your money back and maybe make money on top of it as well. So I think we've sold you the used Lotus dream, and if you do want the used Lotus, you come see these guys.
Give us a shout.
But I think what we'll do now is we'll head outside and we'll talk new, because that, I think, is where it gets really interesting. Now this is where it gets a bit more interesting. So for this car, for example, what's this car new? If I ordered it as it's spec'd now, what would it cost?
Now on the road, they're between 80 and 82, depending on your spec. This is a first edition, and the first editions come pretty much fully loaded anyway. The only options are like a black pack a full black. You get a lower black pack, which is this part here.
Yeah.
The side sills, the intake here, a couple of grills across the front, and then you can have a full black pack, which will give you a black roof. The pillars across here, your wing mirror, the top and your wing mirror is black. Black Lotus badges and your exhaust tips are black.
Yeah.
If not, your badges are silver and your tips are silver, and then the rest is body coloured.
So
there's a couple of options. There's not a lot to go through really. You get Home Link, which is electric gate for your electric gates, a tracker.
So what I did see happen when they were launched is obviously people were collecting them.
Yeah.
And then straight online, or even like they're collecting cars. I saw one, and there's one somewhere else, and they're on the used market for a lot more.
Yeah.
How does that? I mean, obviously they've made money.
Yeah.
Fair enough. How does that sit in the Lotus world or in the Lotus dealership network?
It is difficult for us because we don't control any of the sale of it anymore.
Right.
So in normal circumstances, if in the wholesale days where you buy and sell off, you buy off Lotus, sell to the customer, we would be selling to you as a customer. Yeah. So in theory, with people flipping cars, and other manufacturers do this, if you know your customer's going to flip a car, in theory you should say, you can't have it.
Yeah.
Because you as a business can decide who you want to sell to, in theory.
Yeah.
So, but because Lotus organises all the sale of the car now, all the manufacturer, Mercedes have gone the same way.
Yeah.
So, and there are other manufacturers that are talking about it, some are trialling it and going that way. But because the manufacturer now controls the sale of the car, it's up to them whether they want to sell it.
So we're going back to it then, because the demand is high and stock is low. You know, you can't just go out and go into a showroom and pick one of these things up. No. You've got to wait.
Every car is made to order.
I suppose I mean, if you think about it though, the guys who have waited 60 weeks and paid that $4,000 deposit on a car they've not driven, they've not seen, because it's a brand new car. There's no test drives. That kind of gamble, I suppose, has paid off.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, in the very early days with this car, it was the only place they could see it. We had a road show where the car came, and it was here for 2 days. And all the retailers around the country, they all got the car for a couple of days, and it was at Goodwood. And other than that, that's pretty much it. And a lot of the people that have got the cars now, they were the early deposit holders. They were the ones that ordered a car back then. They couldn't drive it. They might have been able to drive the car a month, 2 months ago, just before their car arrived. But some people have received their car and never even driven it. So again, that's
it's a gamble.
That's the risk you take.
A lot of people who have bought these and sold them on, what do you reckon could we pull a figure? What do you reckon they've made?
Well, it's interesting really. There was always a big question over it really, what they were going to sell for, because you look at other brands and what certain cars like GT3 for example, they make like nearly 100 grand over. So you're looking at one of these and people thinking, what are they going to sell for? Originally they were started up for about 100 grand, and now they're between 90 and 95. Well, at a dealer they're between 90 and 95-ish, around there.
It's still not set.
There's some private at like there's been some sell privately for like mid to late 80s, like 87, 88, around there.
So going back to it,
you're not making huge money on it. They're not making massive money on it. And for a 60-week wait, I suppose, would you pay an additional $5,000 to save yourself 60 weeks? I suppose depends on how patient you are.
It is. One last thing I want to touch on briefly is when you're speccing a car. So if you are buying an Emira, don't just go. This would be me personally. I wouldn't just go for a standard colour. I think I'd have something different colourway. When we talk spec, I mean, I think TGE TV on YouTube, he's very good with his Porsches. Yeah. He'll have a crazy colour tan interior with like a green paintwork. Yeah. Your BM, for example, he's not here today, but your BM, for example, you're going to fetch good money for your BM because it's a crazy colour. It's a different colour. Yeah. But you don't see any out there. Yeah. So I
suppose it depends on. Like with the Emira, for example, it's difficult at the minute to do things like that because all the launch edition cars all really come as a set spec. Yeah. And the colours, there's only 6 colours, there's a few different interiors, but there's nothing like overly extravagant you could do on it, really.
Yeah. Really interesting stuff. I think hopefully you've learnt a lot, took away a lot. Cars can be an investment. We're not financial advisors, by the way.
No.
We're not giving you financial advice. What we are saying is that if you are clever and you know your cars and you've got that cash sitting there doing nothing, you can buy something like this. Like the cars you see in the background, like the cars you see in the showroom.
Yeah.
Enjoy it and pretty much get your money back or make money in some circumstances. Not all the time, but sometimes. But
Yeah.
Conor, Central Lotus, big thanks as always.
As always. You're
And
welcome
then
as always.
if you like this video, you know what to do. Hit the like button, hit subscribe, and see you in the next one.
Thanks, guys.